introduction by Michael McMillan, the one and only. And then we have, if ever there was somebody who was right on point in terms of the culture, the politics, where we need to be, where we should have been, is Tefpo. So it's going to be a magnificent afternoon. We appreciate you for joining. Gentlemen, you want to come take your seats up front? And what we do is ask each of them by way of introduction to you, rather than me read a formal bio. We will ask them each to take a moment to introduce themselves and have a very candid conversation with you. So my role is done. Thank you very much.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Urban League's regional headquarters. We are so incredibly grateful to Roland Martin for coming to St. Louis, for choosing to be here at the Urban League, for partnering with us locally and with Urban Leagues all over the country. He is one of the favorites of the Urban League movement. When you look at various events that we host, and when we really want somebody to bring profound thoughts, talk about making a difference, change, and doing something real and concrete in the community, he is the person that we go to and we ask for real leadership, real advice, real counsel, and a call to action, personally and professionally. So we are incredibly grateful to him for coming here today, this weekend, in what he has deemed the St. Louis takeover, as he is here for the entire weekend. So we're very grateful to him, and as Pat mentioned, we, of course, are grateful to Tefpo, St. Louis's native that we are so proud of, that has continued to grow and do national work and is really setting the bar very high for those people from this community that are making a difference. And speaking of people that are making a difference, I start every single event here by thanking the staff of the Urban League. And I would like for them to just raise their hands and to stand. Those that are seated, we have 350 of the most competent, qualified, capable, and more so than any of those that are working to empower 150,000 African Americans and people in need in St. Louis every year. We also have members of our Federation of Block Units, the Young Professionals, and the Urban League Guild that are in the audience. Please stand so that we can acknowledge you all and thank you for volunteering for the Urban League movement and what you do with us each and every day to help us to help others. We love and appreciate your spirit and your willingness to give back. And now I introduce our man of the hour, Roland, who is just such an amazing leader, someone that I've been blessed to have the privilege of interacting with on multiple local and national occasions. Give him a St. Louis round of applause. Roland Martin.
Roland wanted me to spit some of my resume before he did his thing. My name is Tefpo. My government name is Kareem, as many of y'all might know. I'm from St. Louis. I was born and raised here. I was blessed to be bitten with the bug of music, the bug of poetry. I've been able to use that to go all around the world and evangelize people about the gospel of Black St. Louis. Roland has been a comrade of mine. I can't even call him a brother, a comrade. In many cases, when I've been outside using my platform to move the community to a certain consensus, he's always been there to support me and support the community. And I've learned many of the great things from my relationship with Roland. I'm currently the co-chair of a program through Harvard University called the Commonwealth Program. We bring visual artists from St. Louis, Missouri. As the co-chair, I make sure that every dollar they spend goes into St. Louis. We brought 12 visual artists from St. Louis to Harvard. They all received stipends. I was out there for 4 years myself through the rapper Nas from New York. He has a program, and I was the Nasir Jones Fellow. So Nas brought me to Harvard, and I was able to use that to open up doors and take that to a whole nother level. So now I bring people from my city out there to make sure that they have the same opportunities to have.
So I was last year in October when I spoke to the NAACP here, and we worked on the speaker there. And so what happened was, literally, this was not planned. Let me tell you how this actually happened. So Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock announced they were doing a 5-city tour. And so I looked at the cities, and I was like, these don't work. So the only one that made sense in terms of my travel schedule was St. Louis. And so I hit Dave and Chris, and I was like, yo, I'm going to come through this. Like, we got you. So then I said, well, hell, that's Sunday night. Coming in. What else can we do? So I hit Mike, and I was like, hey, got an idea. I'm coming to town for the comedy show. What if we do a discussion of my book, White Fear, and the book signing? He was like, absolutely, I'm in. Hit Tef. Hey, man, got an idea. Mike's in. While we was in conversation, both of y'all, we can talk, ask questions. He was like, yo, blocking the weekend off. And so then I hit the mayor, I hit Kim Gardner, hit Wesley Bell, hit Michael Roberts. And so within 5 minutes, that's how this happened. And like, here we go. And one of the things that I have always done, and it is, what was it like? I think it was last year before last. I actually came here and did one-on-one interviews with Michael, Tef, as well as Kim as well, and Leslie. And those are on my platform, Black Star Network. And speaking of that, who has actually the Black Star Network app? All right, the rest of y'all got to download. So we launched my show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, in September 2018. And then we launched Black Star Network September 2021. We now have 5 other shows on the network. We, of course, on YouTube. We stream on Facebook as well. But we have an OTT network, which you can download. It's on all devices: Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And we just launched our 24-hour streaming channel, and we're on Amazon News. And by the end of the quarter, we'll be on Prime Video, on Freevee. We're negotiating with several other folks as well. And what that means is when you look at their television grid, when you see all of those channels, when you see CNN, MSNBC, Black Star Network is right there. We're the only, there's no one else, there's nobody else in black-owned media that does what we do every single day. Nobody. Not Byron Allen, not Essence, not Gravity, none of those folks. In terms of the original news that we have every day, we do 5 hours of live every day, plus the stuff that we cover. We're on the ground when we travel. We're covering whether it's protests, whether it's other events, all around this country. And one of the things that I also believe in is I believe in introducing different people, utilizing my platform. Because it took me 4.5 years before I actually got signed to be on CNN. And I know how that system works. And in that system, there are folks who are deciding who gets on. So if there's something that happens in St. Louis, there are bookers and producers who are deciding, well, who are we going to call what's happening in that city? So they may not call Tiff, they may not call Michael, they may call somebody else, and y'all at home like, how the hell they call them? They don't know. But you know that system. And so for me, it's taking the platform and allowing other people the opportunity to be able to do what they do. When you turn on television, when you saw Tiffany Cross on MSNBC, her first opportunity in front of the camera was on my TV One show. Same with Angela Rye, Gianna Caldwell. You see Laura Coates, who has a new show at 11 p.m. on CNN. Her first time ever hosting a show was on my show. When you look at so many different people, plus Reese Colbert. She was doing videos on Twitter defending Vice President, defending Senator Kamala Harris. People like, man, she cussing too much. I saw something that was different, and I said, hey, come on the show. Had her on my show. She became a regular panelist. She became a contributor on Sirius XM, and now she has her own show on Saturdays on Sirius XM. You have to have the opportunity. And so that's the key. How do you use it? So whenever you see, it's about 30 people you see on Fox News, MSNBC, CNN that actually came through my platforms. And so that was all intentional. It is intentional with how I use it. And so, this year we started a new U in 2023 with fitness folks and diet folks. And so that's how Terry Starks got on the show. You saw Thursday's show, we were talking about, look, Google just laid off 10,000 people. Microsoft, these other people, different changes. And so Larry Wagner, who's here, she was talking about HR stuff. She's sitting in the audience from St. Louis as well. I use different people and provide them an opportunity to share their expertise. And then what they do with it from there, that's really on them, but you have to have the platform. And that's why black-owned media matters. Because if we don't have black-owned media, when something happens, when Kim was catching hell, you got white media doing what they do, but then you have black-owned media that has the different ability. And then when we build that to scale, now we actually can be able to compete against the other folks. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee was attacked by Fox News for her new bill, HR 61, to fight white supremacy. Tucker Carlson was attacking her. She hit me up. She says, hey, I need to speak out. I said, you come on the show tonight. 2 hours later, she was on. If the show doesn't exist, there's no way for her to counter. If the network doesn't exist, there's no way to counter. So that's why black-owned media is so critically important, because what has happened is we are putting ourselves in a position where we're asking somebody else for permission to tell our story. And that is the most dangerous thing for any group, to have to ask somebody for permission and then hope they get it right. And do understand, even with this book right now, I can tell you, black show hosts have called me and said, Roland, I would love to have you on my show, but my white producers are scared of your title. Let me say that again. They have called me. Now, mind you, the New York Times has done articles that's basically the same as my book. NPR, Time Magazine. But they have called me and they said, my white producers are scared of your title. And in the book, I talk about white folks in the media who don't want to deal with this topic. And so what does that tell you? And so that black folks who have shows, and this is where a lot of us people get confused. If y'all saw Bomani Jones' show last night, The Game Theory on HBO, he was talking about LeBron James, the difference between power, leverage, and influence. We keep saying, so-and-so, they got power. No, they don't. They have input. They don't have power. Input means, I would like to have Roland on the show. Power is, he's on. I was calling out an advertiser, and the advertiser hit my sales guy, Michael, and they were like, man, he's killing us on social media. And they were trying to figure out who to call to get me to stop. My sales guy was like, he ain't got no boss. They were like, anybody y'all can call? And I said, next time they call, tell them only one person above me, and that's God. That's the only person who can cancel me. That's literally, look, my wife can't tell me what to say. Yes, I said that. Yes, I did. My dad has texted me during my show, and I've texted him back. I got this. Oh, so you understand? I will tell my wife and my mom and my daddy, this mine. That's what happens when we own. We don't have to bow down to anybody. And that's why the platform is important. And that's why, and people tell me, man, you just said, I said the title speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. And you saw it this week in Florida with DeSantis and the AP class of African American Studies. That is an absolute white fear. And so we're going to talk about it with questions from these guys and comment stuff. But just understand, if we do not support black-owned media and it goes away, we are in significant trouble, because we will have no way to counter what they are throwing at us on a daily basis.
You know, Roland, all of us have watched the political shenanigans in Washington in the past month and the dysfunctionality of the Republican Party. And when you look at those 15 votes for Speaker and you look at the ultra-conservatives that have held out, you know, as we analyze this in the Urban League movement, as bad as that was, it's not nearly going to be as bad as what they are going to do in the Congress. All of the subpoenas, all of the investigations, all of the wasted time, all of the holdout, and all of the things they will do to try to block President Biden's agenda. and those Democrats in the Senate that are trying to do something progressive. Please give us some insight, because you're on a national level and can do that.
So let me pass the book right here. So I picked this photo for a very specific reason. This photo is from January 6th. What this says is, this is a white man with his arms outstretched, and how I saw the photo, that's him saying, all of this is ours. Now you got to remember, what precipitated January 6th? When Donald Trump was complaining about the election being stolen, there were 4 cities he kept mentioning. There were 4 cities: Atlanta, Philadelphia, Detroit, Milwaukee. What are those 4 cities? Black cities. They paid for a partial recount in Wisconsin. Milwaukee. They didn't recount all of Wisconsin. They did a partial recount. Milwaukee. There was a Republican woman in Michigan who said, let's count all the votes in Michigan except Detroit. She said it. They sent folks to attack those 2 black women who were workers in Fulton County. Understand, they were pissed with black people. That's what the anger was about. The basis of this book, everything is based upon 2043. The nation becoming a nation, majority, people of color by 2043. What they're looking at power. They're looking at resources. Why do you think they undercounted with the census? Why do you think they knew they put the question on the ballot to purposely to keep Latinos from filling the census out so the numbers would be much lower? What did they do in Texas? Because of Texas population growth, largely driven by blacks and Latinos, people don't realize right now 60% of Texas is minority. But 60% of the people who vote in Texas are white. Wow. So they purposely drove the numbers down. Then, when they added new congressional seats in Texas, they rewarded all white Republicans. They completely ignored what the actual population growth was. And so, people also missed, the courts ruled that there should be a new congressional district in Louisiana that should be black. They fought that in the courts. They ruled there should be a new black congressional district in Alabama. They have been packed. There's only one black member of Congress from Alabama. They put all the black folks from Alabama pretty much in one congressional district. Now, here's what's so crazy. And understand what they're doing. In Alabama, they are now trying, and this is why all these ADOS folks and others who are attacking black immigrants don't realize what the hell that they're doing. They're now trying to redefine the Supreme Court definition of black in order to keep that district in Alabama from being created. The Supreme Court ruled what the definition of black is. Now, why do I say the folk who are ADOS and others who are attacking black immigrants don't know what the hell they're doing? Because 10% of the black population in America today are black immigrants. So if you're trying to separate black immigrants from African Americans, you don't realize that you're actually cutting your own political power, and Republicans will use that against us when it comes to the congressional seats. There are 58 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. You add Alabama and Louisiana, you're now at 60. They are the largest caucus in the Democratic caucus. That's 60 votes. You need 218 to pass a bill. So understand what is at play here and what they're trying to do. And so we're sitting here, folks are just sitting here. There's a great scene from Scandal when Joe Morton says to Olivia Pope, played by Kerry Washington, you're running around here dancing like it's a field of daisies where bombs are blowing up all around you. And so a lot of our people literally are upset. Folks are like, man, I ain't voting. I don't care about none of that sort of stuff. And I'm going, oh, Donald Trump said he thanked black people for not voting. Now, if a person going to thank you for not voting, that means, right. South Carolina. Tim was having South Carolina right now because all of this is tied to D.C. Because see, we keep focusing on D.C. They not focused on D.C. They focused on Missouri, Louisiana, Florida, South Carolina. It's all states. These Moms for Liberty, they have now taken over 10 of the 14 largest school boards in South Carolina. They have been firing and running out black superintendents. They are changing the curriculum. The presidents in Florida, 28 university presidents, just said they are pushing out anything that's DEI. That's why, so it was never about critical race theory. It was about critical race theory. It was about DEI. It was about equity. It was about inclusion. It was about multiculturalism. It was anything that is going to increase the power of blacks and other minorities. They are going to oppose. That is the absolute strategy, and we are aiding their strategy by looking at our voting numbers. 50,000 fewer people voted in Milwaukee in the 2020 election. Mandela Barnes would have become the United States Senator. Now, first of all, a lot of that has to do, he screwed up by having white consultants, having no black outreach. I don't know how in the hell you from Milwaukee, you ain't got no plan to reach black people in Milwaukee. He lost by 26,000 votes. You pick up those votes, you're the United States Senator for the next 6 years. Sherry Beasley in North Carolina, white consultants running her campaign. Same thing. No, how does North Carolina have 15 HBCUs? You ain't got no HBCU plan to drive folks to the polls. The eastern portion of North Carolina, I personally said to her, I will come into the state to help you. They never asked me to come in. I can show you the text messages. I got the receipts. Tim Brown in Ohio, I said to him for 15 months, never did it. But what has happened is when we are not voting, when we're voting at 35 and 38 and 40%, oh, they can kill. There were some counties, I was in Georgia, there were some counties in Georgia, black people were 65% of the county, they were 65% of the population, 50% of the voters, yet white voters were 49% of turnout, black voters were 47%. How are you in the majority in the county, but you voting less than white folks, and you got Stacey Abrams and Warnock on the ballot? So when we're having this conversation, we're going to have some hard conversations with ourselves, because what is happening is, as if we are voting at such low numbers, our power is literally being diluted. And so if they're voting at 40, 42%, and we're voting at 28, 30, we're losing. If we actually are voting at 60, 65, 70%, we're clearing races. Let me say it again. If black turnout is at 65, 68, 70, 75%, we're winning statewide. We're sweeping races. The math doesn't lie. Now, yes, you got to have outreach. You got to be able to sit here and have candidates who are speaking to people and the issues. But the point that I'm saying to black folks, and I hear people like, man, you trying to push black folks to vote Democrat. No, I'm trying to push black folks to vote black. Because somebody going to win. Somebody going to win. And I got to look at it and go, okay, it's going to be you or you. Which one, if I got 10 issues, how many do I agree with you and you? This is my choice. We literally can change the country with our voting power, but many of us are simply checking out and staying at home. And so we're allowing them to have that level of control, and they are appreciative of that. And that's why they're fighting so hard with voter suppression, why they're trying to see the closing down locations, why they're trying to put in more voter ID, because they want to frustrate us to the point we say, man, I just sort of just give up. And that's a fundamental problem that we have to realize, that if we let it continue, they got 6-3 right now in Supreme Court majority. They take control of the United States Senate in 2024. I guarantee, remember, there are only 2 Supreme Court justices right now who are over 70. Alito and Thomas is 72. I can guarantee you, they win the White House and get control of the Senate in 2024, Thomas and Alito will retire. and they are going to appoint a 45 to 48-year-old white woman or white man who they know will be there for the next 35 years to lock in that 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. Folks, that, and understand, when you got that, you already see what happens. The decisions they can make. That's what we have to understand. They are playing the long game. The Republicans are saying, we appeal to white people. We're not going to be in the majority in 2043, but we're going to control the levers of power in 2073, in 2083. So in many ways, we're going to look like South Africa. People of color in the majority, but you don't have the power.
Well, we have two examples of what happens when you get out and vote today, and I want to ask them to stand. Our state senator, Senator Carla May, and our prosecuting attorney, the Honorable Kim Gardner. These amazing women are fighting for you each and every day, so thank you all for being here with us.
On you, Tef.
I mean, the core of everything that I do involves organizing. We can ideate about the issue, we can throw stones at each other about it, but our relationship was developed out of the fact that you knew me to be a person that was wanting to have a strategic plan with addressing these issues. And as we vie for power, we got to understand that power is not a mechanism where they're just going to simply give it to you. And we have this, sometimes folks from the Bible Belt, we have this wild moral disposition with the rest of the world that doesn't exist when you start to travel around the rest of the country. People are a lot more cutthroat about theirs in other places. And what I'm discovering with us, people who can really move the dial, we can actually reverse the course of this radical dilemma. People who live in places like Missouri, places like Iowa, places like Kansas. We've been traditionally taught that the boot is on our neck and we just got to accept it. And you even see that even in the daily choices that we make. So voting is a choice of complication. That's an actual complicated choice. You actually determine who controls the free world in some instances when you vote. And if you can do that with a lack of sophistication, Lord knows what you can do in your own community without any real address. So, I mean, you actually choosing who selects and holds the damn nuclear codes. Right. And, you know, we don't even approach it with that type of due diligence on the knowledge that we do before we even step into the booth. So, a lot of times when you do see that there are people who are displaced with the science of voting, it comes from the fact that they have a question mark in their mind about the political process. And all too often, a lot of people don't want to take time to slow down and answer those actual questions. And sometimes, you know, I'll be candid about it. I felt that Abrams lost the race because she was sending the wrong folks to talk to our people. And the wrong issues were getting mentioned to our people. And it's not a fact that poor people don't want power. Poor people want power. So if you tell a poor person, hey, on Sunday, March 9th, we all gonna go do this. We've organized for 6 months to a year for this to be the outcome. We know that there are several variables that can come from this, but this is a variable that we hope can go down, and if it don't go down, wait, it's what we do after that. That's the problem, right? So it's like we watch the enemy steal the election. We sit back and we hope Mark Lamont and Don Lemon gonna do something about it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's legitimately up to you to fix that. So you have to just determine that, you know, if what we have is good enough for you, then accept that. But there's a wave of folks that's not. And the beauty of the United States is that this country has put things in place where we can have a back and forth ping pong kind of situation with each other about the politics of the day. But the problem is now we're getting to the point where we're removing those processes because we aren't taking the time to wrap the proper education, the proper cultural implications around it. You know, we see, in many cases, the Democratic Party just tone deaf. Cardi B twerking is not going to inspire me to vote. It's not going to push me to the polls. It just doesn't. That's the only time of year I even hear these type of people talk about anything political, and then you want me to go vote behind that activity. That's just buffoonery on a certain level. So it's like we got to understand that on both sides sometimes they're playing games with our minds, and we have the power to actually determine what the future looks like.
So so a key word Tef just used, we said organizing. Then the second one was education. So if you read Martin Depp's book on Operation Breadbasket, which was out of all the things Dr. King did, that actually is the most underappreciated, underreported thing that they did that really impacted Black America in a meaningful way. And the reason it did, because it was an economic thing. First of all, the idea came from Reverend Leon Sullivan. He was doing it in Philadelphia. He mentioned the King, he presented to SCLC, they adopted it, and that's what became Operation Breadbasket. See, one of the mistakes that we make today is we see something and we go, we need to boycott it. Yeah, but you ain't even explained to people what the hell we boycott. So that's what they did. They would go meet with the company, they would ask for the data. The company would give it to them or they wouldn't. Then they would say, okay, based upon their response, they would go educate their congregations, lay out what the plan is. Then they would then let the companies know, well, if you don't move forward, then we're going to launch direct action. We'll organize their people, launch direct action against them, protest, picket. Company would buckle. Company would then come to the table, negotiate an MOU. And their strategy was very multifaceted. They wanted them to not just hire Black folks, senior management, entry-level jobs. They put money in Black banks, use Black-owned businesses as contractors. They were very clear. Put Black-owned products on shelves. So the reason you saw all of these African Americans, companies that exploded in the late 60s, early 70s was because of Operation Breadbasket. But there was an education component. What is missing today is we have people walking around who have no clue about civics. They literally just have no idea. Okay? They just don't. They don't actually understand that what a state rep does compared to a state senator, and then what the county commissioner does compared to this person. And so what is actually needed is really going back to freedom schools where we're actually educating people, because I can't get you to register until I can educate you on why you need to register. And then after I got you to register, I got to keep educating you on the issues so you then actually vote. And then after you vote, I got to educate you on not disappearing, because when the election is over, that's the end of one process at the beginning of another. And so what happens is the election is over, we bounce. And so you have a state senator, you have a prosecutor, you have a judge, you have all these people who are like, yo, where y'all go? We need y'all here. I'm telling you. I'm trying to look. Folks, I covered City Hall. I covered county government in Travis County in Austin. I've covered state government, federal government. Understand how it works. Thursday before last, I was in Houston. The Black superintendent wanted to fire the principal at my high school. I got wind of it. Folks were organizing. She's been the principal the last 5 years, Tiffany Guillory, the most stable leadership my high school has had in 25 years. They would have principals coming in every year. So about 30 of us showed up to the school board meeting. I flew in from D.C., did my show from there, and they gave each speaker 1 minute to speak. And I was like, yeah, y'all got to do something about that. So one of the Black board members, when it came time, she said to the rest of the board, she said, we have Roland Martin here. We need to give him more than 1 minute. And they all nodded their head like, yeah, because they knew what was going to happen. They didn't. Now understand, so then all of these folks stood up. I'm there in my jacket that I got when I was there. And then, as mentioned, TV on the back. That's what they called me when because I went to school communications there. But this is what I told them. I talked about why she was important, why she should stay, but then I said, let me be clear with y'all. The $25,000 scholarship that I gave the district for Jack Yates students, if you fire her, I'm pulling my money. 2, I said the $50,000 I was going to, I was actually organizing the event because I was inducted into the Society of Professional Journalists and the National Association of Black Journalists Halls of Fame. We're going to have an event in Houston, and I was going to announce $50,000 for the school. I said, I'm pulling that. I said, 3rd, they're having an event this spring where they're honoring, for the 100th anniversary, they're honoring 100 most prominent HISD, Houston Independent School District graduates that they had, and they said, hey, we selected you as one of them. I said, I ain't accepting your award. I said, in the last point, if you fire her, because I own it, I will do my show from here and cover every damn thing that y'all do. Now, they voted 6-3 not to fire her. But here's what happened. It was the last item on the agenda. So we were there for 4 hours. The 30 dwindled down to 8. They were trying to outlast us. I did not leave the front row. I sat on the front row the whole time. That happened because we went to the school board meeting. So when you talk about organizing, I've been saying this all around the country. You got alphas in here, you got sigmas in here, you got zetas and deltas and AKAs. If the school board here and the city council here, county commission, if they've never seen a group of people coming in pink and green, red and white, black and gold, purple and gold, blue and white, blue and gold, then why we have these organizations? I'm not saying Delta Days on the state capitol. I'm saying you have Divine Nine, you've got Links, you've got Prince Hall Masons, you've got Eastern Star. That's 12 black organizations. Each one can pick which month they're going to show up in mass at the school board. So this group says, we're going to the school board meeting. This group says, we're going the same month to the county commissioners meeting. This group says, we're going here. And then you rotate. Now all of a sudden, they're like, who the hell is 100, 200 people? Like, why they're here? I can guarantee you, any political leader, any elected official that looks up and sees 100 or 200 people dressed in the same colors are going to first ask, who the hell are these people and why are they here? And when they're seeing that every month, and then we're communicating on what the issues are, now all of a sudden, stuff changes. But what happens is, we actually organize and mobilize for our internal meetings. Nothing external. And then we get mad when people say, we don't see y'all doing nothing, because we never see you. So what has to change, and remember, January 6th was organized. They had guns and weapons outside of the cap. There was a plan of action. They're still doing that. They literally are planning and plotting right now. Axios did a story where there's a group of conservative Republicans who have been meeting for the last year and a half, and they are studying every wrong thing Trump did, and their plan is they have an absolute plan of action. They want to fire thousands of government workers who control the power, not just the appointees. They have a very outlined plan if they take over the presidency in 2024. They ain't waiting. They have been doing this for 2 years. So we have to understand what is at play here. We have to understand they literally are meeting and they're funding this. These billionaire conservatives are funding this, where your progressive billionaires are out here just doing entertainment. They focus on political and economic power. And so when I talk about this notion of white fear, you cannot ignore the money. If you take over the school board, you now control the bond election that's coming up. Who gets the bond contracts? You control the city contracts, the state contracts. On a federal level, $560 billion is spent every year on contracts. $560 billion. African Americans are receiving 1.67% of $560 billion. That's $9 billion. That's what we're getting. When President Biden goes to the CBCF and says, oh, they want to increase that to $100 billion, it sounded great. It got applause. I literally turned around to Congressman Jim Clyburn. I was sitting at his table. I said, how are you going to get to $100 billion with no plan? The federal government spends $1 billion a year on advertising. Black-owned media gets 1%. They get $51 million of the $1 billion. Department of Transportation had a meeting the other day talking about this $216 million contract, and one of my guys was on the call and he asked about black-owned media, and they got an attitude. Well, here's the problem. I interviewed Secretary Buttigieg at CBC. He knew I was going to ask about the advertising money. He came prepared. So now the problem is the bureaucrats are like, well, no, we're doing this. Now, I talked to your boss who committed to this, and we got it on tape. Now, I'm going to wear your ass out. Now, again, go back to organizing. Biden says he's running again. This is the very moment African Americans should be saying that 1% is about to go up now because they need our votes. See, what we're doing is we're sitting back just, well, it'd be nice if we get, no, I'm not playing nice. I had one of my guys, he was, he did an interview. He was one of my fellow black media people, and he did an interview, and he said, well, you know, these things take time. And I called him, I was like, say, bro, your ass 78. I said, bro, you 78. As a black man, every day over 72 is a bonus. I said, what you mean? I said, no, Doc. I said, I'm 54. I ain't trying to wait. Well, no, I want to enjoy the money now. I said, so what are you doing? I said, we got to be applying pressure, maximum pressure. No. King's book was why we can't wait. No, now. And then when they say, well, we can't find them, that's when Mike goes, no, here, and which also means you apply pressure to our black elected officials and white. Say what Maynard Jackson said. Maynard Jackson said tumbleweeds will roll down these runways before this airport is rebuilt without black participation. He changed the economics of Atlanta and Georgia and America, because when you look at construction contracts, the rules are you can't bid on a prime contract unless you've been a prime. Well, if you're always a sub, you can't be a prime. They broke the contracts apart to allow black firms to compete for the smaller contract to become the prime. Now you can bid on up. That's why Herman Russell Construction is now a national construction company, because of that singular decision. He did something as well. Y'all can do this. Y'all can do this in St. Louis, and this is actually not tied to race. Maynard said, banks come in. First, he said, y'all need some black people in your board of directors. They said, we don't know any qualified to sit on our board. He said, not a problem. He said, city treasurer, step in. I need you to remove the city's money out their banks. Right. They were like, oh. He said, you can't do that. Like, actually, I can. Every bank in 2 weeks found a black person on their board. But then this is what he did, and this is what you can do right now in St. Louis, and you can actually tell the mayor and the city council this. And this is race neutral. If this happened in Atlanta, Tev has a black firm company. He can't float his business for 6 months waiting for the city to pay. Banker over here, the Maynard said, we gave them the contract. You got city money in your bank. We need you to extend a line of credit to them. Y'all know we're going to pay them. So you're going to get your money. but he needs to be able to flow this business. They objected. He said, city treasurer, pull our money out. We are complaining about lack of access to capital. The bottom line is here. The mayor and the city council can simply say, if you are a bank that is receiving deposits from taxpayers, we're going to require you to do deals with any firm, including minority firms that get city contracts, to extend them lines of credit to be able to grow their business. They can't say that's affirmative action. It's not a quota, because I said city contracts. That's one way you fight this battle, but that's organizing. As long as we are living in our silos and Sigma's over there and Alpha's over there and Prince Hall Mason over here, and all of our groups are over here, and the NAACP is over here, Urban League's here, it requires organization and mobilization. And when we roll up 300, 400, 500, 1,000 deep, they're counting votes. That's how the system changes, and that's how we have to be operating from this point forward.
Well, Roland, that is all practical, realistic, excellent advice. You go all over the country all the time. You have many fans in this room and countless others in St. Louis. Who are some of the young elected officials, the new elected officials that you think are really getting it right, that we should be looking out for as leaders in the future?
Well, you've got young brothers and sisters. You got a sister who's in DeSoto, Texas, who's a young mayor, brother in Little Rock, Woodfin, who's in Birmingham, so you got folks who were there. But again, the problem still comes in that those are individuals. If you got 9 people in the city council, you need 5 votes. Ron Kirk was the mayor of Dallas. He used to always say, Ron said, look, I count votes. He said, I don't waste no time on the conversation. He said, you ain't got the votes. All you do is make a whole bunch of noise. And understand when you talk about this notion of organizing. Look, my parents founded the Pacific Club growing up. My parents didn't go to college, all right? But well-read, but they weren't on television. They didn't have no bullhorn. They wasn't no activists. But they cared about the neighborhood. They organized. So what I'm talking about, I literally saw at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We had to pass the flyers out. We had to put damn signs. We were free labor. So I think I was in the 9th grade when I actually spoke before the city council. I was going to rallies at the state capitol with my mom, and she was one of the 3 citywide co-chairs of the Metropolitan Organization. But no elected official can do something unless you have votes and people to back it up. And so it's a lot of folks out there, but what happens is they get burned out. Look, you just saw the Prime Minister of New Zealand, one of the youngest in the country, stepped down because she said, I didn't have the energy. Because one of the things is we elect them, then we leave. And they're like, yo, I need y'all to stay here in the fight with me. And we go, yeah, now it's your job. No, I need you to still be here. And so it's a constant state of organizing and mobilizing that has to take place. And that's just really, that's why I use my show the way I do. In terms of constantly I'm focused on teaching and educating so people understand how, and this stuff, it really is basic. This is not complicated. It's just basic blocking and tackling. It's just do this is going to likely be the end result. But you got to be committed to actually doing it. And then you got to see that thing through. And then you got to say, okay, what's next? And so that's why I'm so passionate about this, because everything that I'm focusing on today is actually not about me. It's literally about my nieces and nephews. This is a generational thing we're talking about. I mean, again, they know exactly what they are doing. And they are moving while a lot of us are just sitting here just chilling and like mad and frustrated and upset. Even when talk about the Democratic Party. Black people, do you understand the 2 highest voting groups of the Democratic Party? Black women, number 1. Black men, number 2. That's not their party. That's ours. So the problem is the people who are the 2 highest voting groups of the Democratic Party are going to them head bowed, eyes barely looking up saying, can we get this? As opposed to walking to the door saying, all right, what in the hell are you about to give up? I'm telling you, this is all across. Numbers do not lie. Black women are the highest voting group for the Democratic Party. Forget all this other nonsense about black men are number 2. So why aren't we moving in our power, demanding, no, who controlling the money? Because it's all a money game. Come on. It's a money game. The campaigns, that's why I've been purposely saying white strategists. Because they're the ones who control the money. And so my deal is, I'm going to keep calling you out, and I'm going to keep saying that's why you're losing. But we literally are hoping somebody, no. You got to look, you can't show me nothing in the history of black America that we did not get by having a Jackson vote up. I don't care. Take your pick. Frederick Douglass says power can see nothing without the man, never have, never will. It requires us to literally walk. I've been in meetings and people kind of like, damn, bro, like you're going hard. I'm like, no, I'm actually going easy. Because we have been conditioned as African Americans to not beg, to accept. We know we need 500,000. I was in Wichita Monday. Black state senator in Kansas said she asked the governor, before my speech, she asked the governor for 5,000 for the Urban League. I was like, I went, oh, you asked for how much? And I said, what? And this she told me, she says, and I said something, she said, you know what? I really wasn't thinking. I said, no, that's not true. You were. I said, you knew it was a bigger number, but you negotiated against yourself and said, well, I can't ask for that because they're not going to give us that. So I said, so you lowered your number to 5. And the governor literally was like, she literally was like, 5? She literally negotiated. So when she said, I wasn't thinking, I said, no, you did think. You negotiated against yourself before you even asked. I said, I'm walking in asking for 500,000, 5 million, 50 million, or 500 million. You can either say yes or no, or we can negotiate. But that's literally where we are. So what we have to be doing is when we see that young brother or young sister who's running, we would let them know we got your back, but we also are expecting you to do some things in return. What we cannot do is do what many of us did when Obama was president, where we were just so happy to see a first black family that we stayed at the inauguration parade when everybody else left. Everybody else was asking for stuff. I was actually in conversations with black people, and they were like, man, we can't really, we can't really ask for that, because, we can't, because the white folk, he may not get a second. I said, hold up. You scared? I said, I'm confused. Doc, I'm in Miami, and it's a 20 people at this dinner table. Everybody got multiple degrees. You got professional athletes. You got business owners. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all y'all high? They said, we can't ask. No, Doc, he got a lot on his plate. I said, we put his ass in there. I said, that's why you got staff. I said, so y'all going to wait till the second term to ask for something? I said, I'm confused. And I said, but this is what I said, help me out. So y'all don't want to ask for something out of fear that some white folks you ain't never met might vote against him because of what we asked for. I said, all y'all stupid as hell. They literally talk themselves out of asking for something from our community, saying we made, how it made, no. When I went to the, look, he know. We had a meeting, 2013, $23.09 billion in small business loans were handed out. Black people got $385 million. It was a front page story in March of 2014 in the Wall Street Journal. I go into Raleigh, North Carolina for a Radio 1 event. I see it. I immediately hit the White House. I'm like, yo, I need somebody on Tom Jones on Monday and on my TV One show discussing this. And I'm talking about it. I was like 911. I said, ain't no way in the hell $23.09 billion in small business loans were handed out, and we got $385 million out of $23 billion. They were sitting here playing games, and I was like, so then they haven't nobody come on my show. So I'm on their behind every day. And I'm telling y'all need to understand, I do not play. I sat in the old executive office building with one of the folks, and I said, I want you to hear me loud and clear. And I'm gonna give y'all a quote. So y'all know I cussed. No, I'm telling you, I looked her dead in the eye, I said, I want you to understand. I'm going to be talking about sports, and I'm going to bring that money up. I'm going to talk about Hollywood. I'm going to bring that money up. I said, I want you, and I said, I need you to look at me while I'm talking to you. And she looked at me. That's exactly what I said. I said, I will fuck you at every turn until somebody fixes the money. I said, listen to me clearly. I will hit y'all every single day. And she was like, got you. I said, I want you to go tell everybody else in the White House. I said, no, I would, because understand, it was $23 billion. 90 days go by, we got a meeting in the White House, all these radio people, and I'm sitting there I'm like, yo, I'm here about the money. Because y'all understand, it's only one federal agency that shares along the White House. Treasury. Right next door. It's only one. Not defense, the money. White House is power, that's money. So we're in the meeting, and they all happy to be here. I ain't happy to be here. I'm here about the money. They knew what I was going to ask. Hey, I asked Obama a question. It was off the record. I can't say what he said, but let's just say he pissed me off with his answer. And I shot him and looked back. He looked at me, and I shot him and looked back. And we went at it. And then he's like, well, I'm sure somebody around here that can set a meeting up. I was like, yo, I've been trying to get that meeting for 90 days. You're supposed to respond to the phone calls. And he shot me a look. I shot him one back. I was like, dog. See, we were hyped because he was the first black president. We forgot he was the 44th. I was in the meeting saying, no, you the 44th. I'm going to ask you about the money like the 43rd. I would ask the 43rd. It's the same thing. So we have to be willing to challenge black elected leadership to say, oh, no, you got to deliver. And that's another, we're scared to do that sometimes. Man, we have, the sister and the brother. No. I need you to show me the money. Period. That has to be our mindset. We love you, we appreciate you, but if you're not delivering, we will take you out. That's just, otherwise, why are they sitting there? That has to be our mindset. I don't care who it is. I don't care. And so, hey, I never got invited to the Obama's birthday parties. I didn't care. Because understand, he was only going to be there for 8 years. That's it. That's it. Just 8. Maximum of 8. I need to get what I can get while you're here. That has to be our mindset for every elected official. While you're there, you're delivering. And you don't ask for small stuff. Our HBCUs, this literally, I'll make this point for tough, speaks to our question. Black people, every black person in this room has a survived story. Man, we grew up, we ain't had this, we ain't had that, but our folk made do. All of us have that story. I'm sick of those stories. Man, my grandmother, my grandfather took one chicken and fed all people. Damn that. Roland want to have a story like, yo, we had 11 chickens. We had extra meat. I want to have thrive conversations, not survive conversations. What we're doing is we're asking for a little because we are used to making do with a little. No, damn that. I want to make do with a lot. I want to have a surplus. In my business, I'm about profit. I ain't about a 2% profit margin. My profit margins are 30 through 40. I sign a contract, I ain't spending 98% of it. I'm spending 65% of it. We keeping the 35 as profit. It's the same thing. That has to be our mindset. Otherwise, we will continue to have broke communities.
Power is often defined as organized people, organized money, right? Some things I've learned from you in the moments of despair is that that's when you make your biggest strides forward the power. That's when your back is against the wall. That's when you say, you know what, I ain't gonna go in the room and ask for the 6-figure check. I'm gonna take what I got in my own reservoir, build my situation out, keep adding to it, piece by piece, and before they know it, I've Trojan horsed the whole game. That is a direct lesson that I've learned from you. Currently, we have a music studio in South St. Louis. We got a hair salon. We got a magazine that's doing 20,000, shipping all over the country. I'm a pupil of Roland Martin. You feel what I'm saying? Instead of going to these folks in certain situations where I knew it wasn't going to click, I used my own ingenuity to say, okay, I know this person, I know that person. I can build this network out, make this thing go, do what it got to do. That's why you see myself in certain situations where I can say what I want, I can wear what I want, I can talk how I want, because literally there's nobody to turn the valve off.
There you go.
So, can you give us some examples of what is your mindset when you in this situation and you know, look, man, I ain't going back to regular work tomorrow.
That's literally just. Look, when TV One, I'm actually got to take before that. When I was at CNN at a meeting, and John Klein's a great guy. He was president of CNN US since 2009. We had lunch at an Italian restaurant across the street. He says, I mentioned Tom Joyner, I mentioned the stuff TV One. He's like, when you gonna give all that stuff up and focus on CNN? Now, mind y'all, when I signed with CNN, I signed a 2-tier contract. I signed a contributor contract, and I also signed a show host contract. So I was being paid $250,000 a year as a contributor. But the top out at $283,000. Show host contract began at $600,000. So it gave me a show that was what I was going to start making. So when he said that, I said, "When you gonna give me a 5-day-a-week show? You want me to get my shit up? What y'all giving up? Literally." And then I said, "And if you give me one, I'll think about it." I didn't say I'll do it. I said, I'll think about it. And they came to me, they wanted me to do a daily segment on Wolf's Situation Room. I was like, great. I said, it's cool. I said, normally when I travel around the country giving speeches, governor might be there. I said, CEOs are there. We can incorporate that. They said, no. This has to be in studio. I said, hold up. So y'all want me to do a segment in studio, which means I'm going to be off the road, meaning I'm not speaking? Y'all going to replace that money? They were like, no, we're not replacing that money. I said, guess ain't going to be no segment. Now, mind y'all, I want y'all to understand. 99% of the black folks been like, oh, absolutely. A daily segment? No. Why did I say no to daily segment? Because I was doing $300,000 to $400,000 a year speaking. That money was freedom. I wasn't going to let them control all my money. Yo, I had CNN money, TV One money, speaking money, book money. I believe in multiple revenue streams. When I signed with CNN, I told my agent, let's go get us another deal that equals or exceeds this one. We got that one. I said, let's go get us another deal equal or exceeds this one. He was like, damn, bro. I said, here's the deal, bro. If anyone gets turned off, to your point about the faucet, I can go, beep, over here. Keep it moving. I'm sitting here one day when I launched a line of ties, ascot, and bow ties. A brother, David Borman, he was the executive vice president, Washington bureau chief. We're outside the studio. He goes, he turns to me. David's like 6'5". He goes, now you know, if you were full time at CNN, you couldn't be doing all these other things that you're doing. And I went, I know. That's why I ain't gonna never be full time at CNN. They were like, who is this? I had another encounter. Scott Matthews, when I filled in for Campbell Brown, he was executive producer, so it was some BS, and he's like, well, I really think you should look at this opportunity a lot differently. He was talking to me in a very patriarchal manner. I said, whoa, Scott, let me help you out, player. I got 5 lines of revenue. Y'all number 3. Thieves. So I sat back. I said, you're number 3. There are 2 above you. So I need you to understand. I ain't got to do a damn thing. That was it. There was a sister who worked there. She said, Roland, she said, there ain't been a black person like you ever worked here. Because I could walk into that building and challenge them on all sorts of issues because they didn't control my money. But they also didn't control my voice. I get a phone call. It said, hey, we can't find, out of all them show hosts and correspondents, they couldn't find nobody to go interview Winnie Mandela in Birmingham, Alabama. A church was bringing her in, so they called me. I was like, yeah. So I fly to Birmingham, Alabama. I got 20 or 25 minutes with Winnie Mandela, which was hilarious. And she was absolutely a flirt. She was cracking me up. So interview her. So I didn't go back to the airport, fly back. So a couple of days later, I get a phone call. Yeah, we saw the interview. We got a problem. Why didn't you ask her this? I said, why the hell y'all didn't talk to her? I asked her what the hell I wanted to ask her. And they literally said, well, we ain't running the interview. I went, bet. I went to John Klein. No. I went to John Klein and said, hey, your folk in Atlanta are not going to run the Winnie Mandela interview, so I need the tape. That's right. I need permission. Give me the tape. I'm going to run on my TV One show. John was like, sounds fine to me. I go to D.C., we copy the tape, we run on my TV One show. March of 2018, I'm in Memphis preparing for MLK 50, the 50th anniversary of his assassination. Winnie Mandela dies. I hit my dude, restream the Winnie Mandela interview. The only reason you can see today me interviewing Winnie Mandela is because I had a black-owned platform that I never gave up, where we ran it. I leave CNN in April of 2 years ago in April 2013. 5 years later, I rerun it. That's what the freedom part was. If I had given up my black platforms, then I would not have had other outlets to do stuff. So when CNN says we ain't covering that, I'm like, cool, I'm going to cover it over here. In fact, when the Trayvon Martin situation happened, we made that thing become a national story, those of us on social media. I was in Sanford, and they were trying to figure out, they were like, and I wasn't down there for CNN. I said, y'all, I got a show budget for TV One. I don't need y'all to fly me any damn where. See, again, I'm coming over to the money. They thought they had control of me, but they didn't have control of my money. Right. I can buy my own damn plane ticket. So I was in Sanford, and so they blowing me up trying to get Sabrina Fulton and Tracy Martin, his mom and dad, on the show, but they not booking me on the show. So Anderson Cooper's booker, and I said, hey, bro, don't call me again. I said, y'all don't want to book me, but you want me to help y'all get the mama and the daddy on. I ain't doing a damn thing. I don't work for your show. And then all of a sudden they look up when at the church, they had a big old town hall. The mother, Ben Crump, asked me to moderate the town hall. CNN's like, how the hell did this guy get up there? Now all the networks are covering it, and they trying to figure out how am I sitting here, because I have always cultivated my own relationships that had, and see, what they didn't understand was, they kept thinking it's because of CNN. No, black people were listening to me on Tom Joyner and watching me on TV One. And so when I walk into the room, I didn't walk into the room. There's a movie called The Insider dealing with the tobacco crisis where Lowell Bergman, played by Al Pacino, says, Lowell Bergman, 60 Minutes, I wonder if my phone calls get returned if that's not at the end of my name. I always made clear from the day when I came into business, I will always get my phone calls returned with nothing at the end of my name. So when I call folk today, when we got TV One, they were like, hey, I'm with News One now. They were like, what the hell is News One now? They would say, well, I'm on TV One. They're like, what the hell is TV One? Then they told me, I was like, what are you doing? When you call, tell them, I'm a Roland Martin show. They would call, they were like, I'm a Roland Martin show. Oh, yeah, I know Roland. I listen to Roland. Like, what? They didn't know the network. My social media file was bigger than TV One. So the point there is, when you have personal credibility and integrity, and you understand the game, then you understand, and you don't buy into white validation, and you have respect for black-owned media, and you know how the media game works, then you know how it works. I'm going to get this last one, because I told you, I know how to play this game. I get hired to CNN, election, first night, Iowa. They like, we don't know who this Negro is. They ain't trying to use me. They don't tell me how to access the exits poll data. I was like, all right. They ain't tell me when the food came. All right. Because the people out of D.C., because understand, the people out of D.C. were running the whole thing. The D.C. people were pissed because I got hired in New York. They were like, we ain't using him. All right, cool. So, and they were so scared. CNN actually, my Obama book, you can actually buy that book, cover the election. They asked me to take this story out of the book. They were like, it makes it look bad. I said, what shit happened? Y'all were stupid. Rick Davis like, yeah, but it makes us look foolish. I'm like, because y'all were foolish. So let me tell you what they did, straight up. So it was 7 o'clock. I was like, fine, look downstairs. In fact, before that, Sam Feist, who's now the bureau chief, he comes down. I just finished kicking Bill Bennett's behind on television. And he comes to get Bill to escort him upstairs to show him the studio. I'm sitting right there. I was like, well, I'm going to walk behind y'all ass then. So I walk up. And he like, yeah, blowing me off. And I was like, yeah, okay. I'm like, I'm going to get your ass back. 7 o'clock comes. All right, everybody hype. 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Numbers are coming in. Looks like Obama's going to win. So they on the air. Reporter's like, so we know that Senator Obama is in the city. We don't know where he's at. I sent an email. He at dinner right now with friends and campaign people. And then I get a call. Here's their exit poll. Here's their exit poll data. They come in, oh my God, where are you getting this? And so then they came back, and then they said, oh, he wins. We're not sure when he's coming to the convention center. I'm like, he's leaving dinner in 20 minutes. So they come up, they're like, oh my God, where are you getting this from? I'm like, from the person sitting next to his ass at dinner. If y'all put him in the damn air, y'all might have some of his information, but y'all got to know what the hell they talking about. So the producer, she goes in, she's like, oh my God, we got to get him on the air because he's got great stuff. I got it on for, I think, 1 minute and 37 seconds election night. And I was like, okay. Oh, I ain't getting mad. I got to eat it. I had already been promised. So then Obama wins, and they come to me and they say, hey, can you get a beeper with Obama? What that means is, can they call, not do a video, call him? I was like, yeah, I hit him up. I hit the Obama people. I said, if any one of y'all say yes, I'm cussing everybody out. I said, y'all better not agree to shit unless I'm sitting on that damn desk. They're like, Roland, we ain't talking to nobody tonight. I'd already gotten the word that I was going to do an interview with him the next day. Y'all might remember, he wins Iowa, but he basically loses his voice. But I had the only interview with him the next day. They did no interview. So I'm sitting there. The problem is, the interview was at 2 o'clock at a morning show on WVON radio. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, how am I going to see him? How am I going to work this? Then it hit me. I said, they wanted him to call into the control room last night. I said, I know what I'm going to do. He going to call into CNN to the control room. I'm going to stay in the same spot Wolf stood in last night. And we're going to put his picture on the wall just like we would do last night. And I'm going to do the radio interview on television. And we're going to shoot it. And then they can use the radio interview shot like it's a TV interview, and I'm the only person standing there doing the interview. So I went to the president seeing he was going to say it. Nobody in America had interviewed Obama after he wins Iowa. No brainer. He's going to say, hell yeah. So I go, John, got an idea. Love it. Absolutely. They start moving. Producer hits me up. Hey, this is awesome. Can we call this a CNN exclusive? Nope. I said, the interview is for WVON Radio. Y'all can call this a WVON Radio Roland Martin exclusive. You only got access to it because I work here. I wouldn't let them put their name on it. So they're like, we gonna run it. They're like, hell, we gonna run it. We gonna run it. So they ran. When it ran, I got the only one in the country. When it's over, John goes, I'm gonna put a word and put a bug in Sam's ear. We need to use you more next week. Now, mind you, next week in Hampshire, I was like, That's why that following week, y'all saw me on every damn week at 7. The moment we came on live, my ass was sitting right there. Because of that, I had to show them, y'all want to play me, but here's the deal. If I didn't have the black media outlet, I could not have leveraged the internet. So the point there is, we cannot ignore when we have our own black media that we can now leverage over here for mainstream, and I'm still in control of the process. They couldn't control anything I asked. I asked whatever I wanted because I said, oh, if y'all want it, you can run it, but I'm still doing it. That's how we have to be processing and approaching these things. But too many of us are living by white validation, and a whole bunch of us would have dropped all that black media stuff just to be able to say, I'm on CNN. Wow. That's how you have to play the game.
Yeah. Roland, before we get into the book signing, every time that I have seen you, you have always given every single person, organization, city, government, elected official, amazing calls to action. What do we need to be doing?
So here's first thing. You have to decide as an individual, what is the one thing I absolutely care about? I don't care what it is. If you say your thing is economics, if you say your thing is organized, if you say it's mobilizing, if you say it's education, then what you then have to decide is, this is what I'm going to commit myself to for the next 364 days. And then what you then say is, okay, who's already doing that? Everybody running around talking, I want to start a nonprofit. There's a nonprofit waiting for you to show up. So you need to align with existing groups, because Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, said, you cannot show me a single black person who has ever achieved anything that did not do it through an organization. We make the mistake when we think that we are individuals. Def saw it, cats who were in Ferguson came out, no, I ain't part of no group, I'm just me. Nothing, because you have to have the organization infrastructure. And look, there were a lot of young folk who were like, oh man, we ain't doing that stuff like the Urban League and the NAACP, and they old school. I'm like, but they're still here. I'm like, y'all ain't gonna be here in 3 years unless you have some infrastructure that's in place, because when you get tired, somebody got to pick up the mantle. It's a whole bunch of black activists learned after Ferguson why infrastructure matters. So you then have to now align with groups that are like-minded. And here's the deal. They're not going to do everything that you want to do, but you have to come to a point where you say, what can I achieve with them? And now begin to work on that, and now set realistic goals in terms of what it is I'm trying to achieve. Where we get frustrated, because I spoke at my parents' church in Houston. It was a men's night, and it seats about 2,500, and it was about 400 brothers there. So God came, he said, man, this is awesome. He said, man, this place should have been packed. I said, whoa, bro, why are you stressed? I said, I wasn't stressed. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I wasn't speaking to the empty chairs. I was speaking to the 400. I said, and out of the 400, I wasn't trying to convert 400. I was trying to flip one. I said, you got this whole thing wrong. I said, let's now do multiplication. It was 400 of y'all here. One of you, each one of you, should bring one next month. Now there will be 800 brothers in this meeting. And then if the 800 brings just one, I ain't asking you to go get 5. Bring one, the next month will be 1,600 people here. The next month, which is the 4th month, if the 1,600 bring one, we now have to put out chairs because it only seats 2,500, now they got 3,200. I said, you tripping on who wasn't here. And so your mission has to be, if you're talking about voting, you're talking about how do you transform your community, you then have to say, all right, this is what I want to work on. But this is also a biblical model. Nehemiah was freaking out because the wall crumbled. The king said, you clearly bothered, go ahead and do what you got to do. He goes to inspect the wall, comes up with the plan. He then goes to the people. If you actually read it, it says, the people said, let us rebuild. We get so consumed because we go, well, man, everybody didn't show up. You ain't going to have consensus. If 2 people showed up, I'm working with the 2, and we're going to build from there. So then if you keep reading the scripture where it says that they had some haters, and the haters were like, yeah, y'all can't rebuild. He was like, yo, ignore them, keep building. It's going to happen. I guarantee you there's people who said, Mike, ain't no way in hell y'all can get that building. You like, appreciate that. You just keep building. But the key is this here. You keep reading. These people rebuilt this portion of the wall, which meant they actually built, and they got all about the names. They built what's right in front of them. The greatest mistake that we make is you're in St. Louis and you focus on what's happening in Kansas City. And if you're in St. Louis, you worrying about that other neighborhood, but you ain't even looking at your neighborhood. Not your neighborhood, not your street, not your block, not your street, not your house. So when I see somebody who says, I care about education, and I then say, how are your nieces and nephews doing in school? It's, I don't know. I said, well, you don't care about education. I said, you can't tell me you care about education, and you ain't even inquire about your nieces and nephews. I said, you can't flip no other kid if you can't deal with them. They were like, damn, I had to ask them that question. But again, that's what we're talking about. So you have to decide, walking out of here, how am I going to be a change agent? And I know somebody sitting here right saying, somebody saying, look, Roland, I didn't go to college. My mama and daddy did not go to college. But my daddy read the paper every day, watched 4 or 5 hours of news every day, well informed. They were engaged. They were involved in the community. I saw that, and so all of this that you're hearing was born out of what I saw and participated in and witnessed, and then added to it. This is literally how our community has changed, but it's never going to change if what we do is hear stuff and go, man, that was great, that was wonderful, and literally leave the same way we came. And so you then have to now decide, who do I want to align with and how do we want to do it? Sigmas and alphas now have to say, okay, how are we now going to go beyond our meetings? How are we now going to place a call of action to say, all Sigmas in St. Louis, we're going here in March. Alphas, we're going here in April. Omegas, we're going here in May. And then we're going to talk to the alphas and sigmas about, okay, what did y'all do? What did y'all do? So now our messaging is similar and aligned, and we're moving towards the same thing. That's what actually has to happen. I can't pick the issue for you because I don't know what your issue is, what your neighborhood is like, what your organization is like. But what I can guarantee you, and this is living proof in terms of how this works. We are sitting here right now in this room, but we are live streaming on every single one of my platforms. Now, I'm going to walk you through real quick how this works. We're live streaming because that piece of equipment right there with the yellow cable is a LiveU LU800 unit. That unit is the top of the line live streaming unit So that unit, ABC has, CBS has, NBC has, MSNBC, all the networks. When we travel, they got the exact same unit we do. I own 2 of them. Now, when we started, I could not own it because that thing is $20,000. But I bought the LU200. I had the video, which was $500, and the LU200. So I could not afford that. But I figured out what I could afford and still got it done. And then as we built, we purchased the next line. And then we purchased that one. We are able to, we got 2 of those. I can plug up 4 cameras to that, feed those 4 cameras back to my studio, and they can live switch all 4 cameras in my studio. We started with 157,000 YouTube subscribers. We now have 988,000. Built over 4 years. But also my fan base, y'all made that possible as well. My fan base has donated $2 million to our show. And here's the deal. I told them, I said, listen, swag costs money. If I send y'all hats and t-shirts and mugs, basically that's where all the money is going. I probably have had 30 or 50 people in 4 years complain they did not get a hat or a t-shirt. The other 23,000 said, yo, we're investing in the show. So we built this thing methodically, and it was literally step by step by step. We didn't overextend. Not a person has been paid late. And we launched September 4th, 2018, and we've been profitable since March 2020. Nope, you ain't gonna find many black businesses that actually can say that because of how we built it. So how I built the company is the exact same way you organize. It's literally, I wasn't stressing on what I couldn't afford. I said, I can afford this. I'm going to give a top quality product, and then we're just going to methodically build this thing up. And so you're going to look up a year, 2, 3, 4 years later and go, we accomplished all this? In 4 years?
Well,
It's not a game changer.
It's not just the organizing in the political sense, it's the business acumen as well. A lot of young people may think the Roland Martin show is outdated. They may not watch it. The same for me. I get so much game, especially in the realm of business as a young black man for Roland Martin. It's ridiculous. So definitely check it out on that level.
And so, and then for the folk who say, oh man, you old media, I'm like, okay, I'm good. It's a whole bunch of people call themselves new black media. But guess what? If you actually add all of, it's about 5 or 6 of them. The 5 or 6 of them don't equal mine. But here's the piece though. I'm good. Y'all go do you.
That's right.
I'm good. I have no problem. Look, they talk about me like a dog. Knock yourself out. You should call them the so-and-so show. No, I'm good. I'm like, I don't punch down.
Hello.
Like, I don't have any interest. If you think what I'm doing is bad, okay, go do you. Let me see what you got. Here's what I do know. Not one of them are on 5 days a week. Not one of them, if something go down, or not one of them, when Kim was going through hell, broadcast from here. Not one. So when people, that's why, I'm going back to Nehemiah, I don't worry about haters. Because if you go back and read it, when they were building and they were successful, the haters said, oh, we could have stopped them. Nehemiah said, keep building with one hand, but keep the other hand on your weapon. Y'all think, it's in Nehemiah 2, 3, and 4. Y'all go read it for yourself. So the point is, whatever you do leaving here, you're going to have haters. And they might actually be in your house. Or your fraternity, or your sorority, or whatever. Or in the urban league. And all you have to do is say, you are more than welcome to go do your own thing. But we're going to be going here. We're building. And if you go back, again, if you finish, read Nehemiah, when they finished the wall, everybody who contributed, name is mentioned. Ain't no haters mentioned in the scripture. So no matter what you do, there are going to be some people who are going to tell you can't do it, it ain't going to work, and you're like, cool. But then when you're done, and when they start doing a roll call, when they name they mention, You just look over and go, we're going to celebrate the people whose name got mentioned. You focus on that, I guarantee you will change your street, your block, your neighborhood, the city, the state, and the country. But it will not get done if you don't show up and show out.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you. Let us give him one more big St. Louis round of applause and show him the love that he deserves here in this community for what he does all across this nation, each and every day. So as we get ready to step outside and do the book signing component today, we just want to thank him. We also want to thank Tepo, who is making big things happen across the state.
Appreciate it. And let me thank Michael and Tep for doing this. They didn't have to do it. And so I appreciate them doing this. They could be doing anything else today. And so I absolutely appreciate y'all doing it. So thanks so much.
Thank you. And then we also have refreshments out in the hallway. For those members of the Federation of Block Units, please see Farrakhan. For those members of the Guild that are here, please go in the back, see David Glenn. And then for those that are in the YPs, to see Barry, because we have actually purchased books for you that Roland will sign afterwards. So
over there, I'm going to sign out there. I'm going to sit at the end table. So I'll be seated, and we'll take photos right there as well where we're signing. And so they have the machines out there for cards and cash and everything. So I'll see y'all outside.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. If you still need to purchase a book, you can go into the hallway. The ladies are happy to help you. But for the Guild and the Federation of Block Units, if you will meet your contacts, they'll have your books, and then you can line up outside for the autographs. Thank you.
Yeah,